Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. It is disheartening for an informed Amazonia in Bamenda to not know about the capacity of the Mentum 4 if her nest to supply electrical energy. Unfortunately, the colonial La Republic of Cameroon's government, embedded in the spirit of marginalization, denied developing this natural potential. Instead, the colonial administration and its collaborators decided to create 5 artificial dams in La Republic of Cameroon in the name of solving the energy crisis in Cameroon. Well, just because this nature mentioned fall is found in Amazonia, the colonial La Republic of Cameroon's government chose not to develop it, even when it requires a meager sum to get it done compared to the 5 artificial dams. While the marginalization against Amazonia keeps playing out, corruption in La Republic of Cameroon has not stopped either. It is as always normal for elected officials to be very much present and friendly on the eve of every election. But after the elections, they fell into oblivion, abandoning all the projects they used to canvass the votes of the people. Once in power, no matter the means used to get there, these representatives, as called of the people, forget about the interest of those they were called upon to serve. We have these and other concerns to talk about in Undaunted tonight, but we'll do that only after we have the prime headlines.
All right, these are the prime headlines for today. La Republic Cameroon cancelled trash van overturned along the roadside. Chairman of the PCC in Chiang Mai County allegedly buried alive. Bamenda denizens pay a high price for persistent low voltage. How come? This is 2023, and so you must listen to the news to get the full detail. Also on the foreign scene, Japan's Prime Minister is on a surprise visit to Ukraine. And in sports, Roy Hodgson reappointed as Crystal Palace manager until the end of season. Now let's get the news in detail.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were
We have what it takes to dictate the pace.
right now. ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively.
To inform the misinformed and disinformed, with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like alright, you are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
It is normal for elected officials to be very much present and friendly on the eve of every election. But after the elections, they fall into oblivion, abandoning all the projects they used to canvass the votes of the people. This is a reason for the increase in voters' apathy in the Cameroons. The political landscape is such that though the caliber of politicians these days is merely a group of selfish and self centered fellows, election results are always ready made. Once in power, no matter the means they use to get there, these representatives of the people forget about the interests of those they are called upon to serve. Well, this is where we will begin the full briefings of Under tonight. I am Oni Okbala. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, very well, Oni. Good evening, Ambazonians. A trash van of a council in La Republic du Cameroon has fallen with the van overturned on the same stretch of road the council was supposed to construct. They thought that not constructing the road has nothing to do with them, but as the law of Karma holds it, what goes around comes around. It is even better for the council in La Republic du Cameroon to have a trash van. None of the colonial councils in Amazonia has a waste management van or trash van, even as the council in La Republic du Cameroon is mocked for falling into her own trap. She's better off than those in Amazonia. But how can an elected mayor deny the electorate's better earth roads? Whom are they now represented?
A trash collection van of the council in Douala, the political capital of La Republic du Cameroon, fell with tires in the air on the same stretch of road the council failed to construct. It happened when the cabbage collection van on a waste collection exercise decided to use the stretch of the road for the routine exercise. This is the same stretch of road the inhabitants of the localities have begged and cried for the mayor and his collaborators to rehabilitate. And the council has paid a deaf ear to the plight of these people who, because of the bad road, go to work late and are involved in numerous accidents.
Well, the fall of this garbage collection van within the city center tells of how bad the road is. The question on the lips of many is that if a heavy-duty van like that can fall on a road due to its bad nature, it means cars and bikes cannot even venture on that road. And if that is the case, how are the people in the area coping? This scenario is a picture of how the La Republic du Cameroon system functions, a system where development is not part of their agenda, a system that has crippled Amazonia, closing up all developmental institutions like the coffee tea estate in Santa, the Public Works Department, PWD, and many others. As the garbage collection van of the council fell into their prepared trap, that is how all the colonial administrators of La Republic du Cameroon have been falling into different traps they've created for the common man.
And moving on, it is disheartening for an informed Ambazonia in Bamenda about the capacity of the Menchum Ifrenes to supply electricity energy. Unfortunately, the colonial La Republic du Cameroon government, embedded in the spirit of marginalization, denied developing this natural potential. Hypocritically, Paul Beer and his collaborators decided to create about five artificial dams in La Republic du Cameroon, all in the name of solving the energy crisis in the Cameroons. The question we are asking today is how on earth will a group of educated robbers choose to be served by a man made dam better than the natural fall like the Menchum Fall?
Well, just because this natural mention fall is found in Ambazonia, the colonial La Republic du Cameroon's government chose not to develop it, though it requires a very meager sum to get it done. They rather prefer to spend huge amounts of money, taxpayers' money to be precise, to create artificial dams in the La Republic du Cameroon territory of the Cameroons. And after over five artificial dams created by La Republic du Cameroon inhabitants in Bamenda are still unable to enjoy a stable flow of electrical energy, even when there is the voltage. It's still very low, causing a lot of damage to appliances. How can energy supported by five artificial dams still be experiencing low voltages?
For almost 3 weeks now, it's been on and off. The circuit breaker has been destroyed, the fridge is down, all the bulbs are off. A father said, looking at the loss incurred at his home at Foncha Street due to persistent low voltage. He complains that their quality of life is not the same as they have to rely on rechargeable solar lamps. Just like in his home, several homes in Bamenda, the chief town of the Midland zone of Amazonia, have been witnessing low voltage. A lady at New Layout downtown tells us that she now visits a distant neighborhoods and neighbors just so she can stay connected. For about a month now, she says, I have been charging my phone in other neighborhoods. In my house, the TV is bad, there are distributors too because of the epileptic power supply, an inhabitant of the area said.
Well, business persons at Upstation are decrying a drop in business as a result of this persistent poor power supply. Quote, a number of days I can work about 6,000 to 10,000 francs CFA per day, but with now the low voltage, I could barely make 5,000 francs CFA. This is from a barber complaining and adding that it is because of difficulties faced in charging equipment. He says, I very often use rechargeable machines to shave customers because with the present situation, I can only serve about 3 to 4 persons with my machines in one day. Now, not far from him, a lady working with a photocopying machine is using a generator to serve clients. Quote, machines cannot come on if I do not turn on the generator because the voltage is low. Some days when the light comes back normal, it is so high that if we are not careful, it might destroy the machines, she said.
Well, in some neighborhoods like Ngeng, the people say they have been without electricity for 2 weeks now, and nothing is being done by workers of the electricity supply company. Low voltage has been recurrent in Bamenda, and the people are calling on La Republic du Cameroon annual offices to address the situation. On a very sad note, a very sad, shocking news reaching Undaunted says the chairman of the Presbyterian Church of Nchang, Manu County, Mr. Agombor Priso, was picked on a Friday, March 17, 2023, by unidentified armed men.
Well, this is very sad. And you'll recall, Onyi, the story on Nchem, where a priest and his parishioners were kidnapped and released after weeks. Now, it was said that it was the ARFs, the Amazonian Restoration Forces, that carried out the act. But this incident is still under investigation as no group has claimed responsibility yet.
But if they were to be Amber fighters who kidnapped him, let's if we want to go back to recheck that story, why will they try to hide him? Because the ARF has nothing to lose, if you ask me. It could be someone maybe from the La Republic to Cameroon government who does not want his or her identity to be blown out. But that's what it is. But as the story unfolds, we will definitely bring you up to speed with the details.
And now, African reports in West Africa and Nigeria. We brought to you yesterday the gubernatorial scores for most states in Nigeria with corresponding reactions. Nigeria's two biggest parties who won the majority of states in the weekend governorship polls, as official figures showed yesterday, Monday, maintaining their political dominance following elections in which European Union observers said 21 people died from violence. Courtesy Reuters, Barry Andrews, European Union Observer Mission, Nigeria's chief observer, told a news conference that commercial hub Lagos was among several states disrupted by multiple incidences of thuggery, ballot snatching, and intimidation of voters, polling officials, observers, and journalists.
While voters were choosing governors in 28 out of the country's 36 states to bring to an end this year's election cycle that began with the disputed presidential and legislative elections last month. Ruling All Progressive Congress APC party's Bola Tinubu was declared president-elect, but his victory is being challenged by Atiku Abubakar of the main opposition People's Democratic Party and Labour Party's Peter Obi.
While Peter Obi was supported by young voters and was seen having the best chance to end the dominance of APC and PDP, which have between them ruled Africa's most populous nation since the return to democratic rule in 1999. But Obi came third in the presidential race behind Tinubu and Atiku, and his Labour Party was yet to win a governorship race.
Official figures showed that APC won 15 states, including the closely watched Lagos race, compared to 7 for PDP, which led in another state as counting continued. A Northern Regional Party won one state and led in another. Labour Party, which rejected the Lagos result, led in one state. Two races were declared inconclusive because they were too close to call between the APC and PDP. One was northeastern Adamawa state of Nigeria, where the APC candidate was tipped to become the first female elected governor.
Well, Barry Andrews, European Union's Observer Mission Nigeria chief observer says violence and intimidation may have led to a low turnout, while there is no nationwide turnout figure because the voting is administered state by state. Authorities put it at 16% in Lagos State, Nigeria's most populous, with more than 20 million people. Quote, he says it's actually tragic that 21 people, according to our latest information, lost their lives in election related violence. He also said, however, there were some improvements in Saturday's vote. Election materials arrived on time at most polling units, which opened early, while electronic voting machines were working better than last month.
The number of reported deaths was below the final totals in previous Nigerian elections. It has been reported by our leading intelligence organization, SB Intelligence, on Monday that no fewer than 27 persons were killed during the March 18 governorship and House of Assembly elections across the country.
While most unrest typically occurs after results are announced, the deaths were recorded in 10 states out of the 28 where governorship elections were conducted, according to the report. The report said at least 6 persons were killed on elections day in Rivers and Benue states, while 5 died in Delta, three in Lagos, two in Akwa Ibom, and one each in Cross River State, Ebonyi, Niger, Kebbi, and Castina State. The organization said the casualty figures might be more as it was still working to confirm more incidents.
Well, the reports are read in partly the March 18 governorship and Houses of Assembly election held 3 weeks after the presidential and National Assembly elections were characterized by poor turnout, but many had hoped that the 2023 elections would be better given their initial widespread enthusiasm. Our research shows that logistical issues and violence resurfaced, and Nigeria's elections rigged normally ethnic based voter suppression. Thugs hijacked and burnt election materials in states like Bayelsa, making their independent National Electoral Commission INEX flee to the capital, which is Yenagoa, for safety. Iceland members were accused of threatening non PDP voters in Rivers State, Nigeria, while some thugs forcefully demanded access to election materials in another state called Akwa Ibom.
Well, from the reports, we learned that the most striking examples of violence are from Lagos and other states where a long standing ruling party wants to stay in power forcefully. The reports also said the flaws in the just concluded elections leaves Nigeria in danger of illegitimate leadership, which will erode trust in the electoral process.
While a security expert, Jackson Ojo, said the INEC and security agencies must be overhauled to prevent repeating ugly incidents in the future. He said Nigerians placed so much hope in this election but ended up being disappointed. The widespread violence is totally unacceptable. This election is not worthy of being called one, he said. The electoral body and security agencies failed Nigerians.
Well, this security expert, Jackson Ojo, said they will not say there were no signals. They even failed to act in situations where supporters of these candidates were making inciting comments. What we need is a total overhaul of INEC and security agencies, he ended. Well, do Nigerians think so as well? Well, whatever gets justice served is the best option, and so far, nothing seems to be just it yet, unfortunately. Well, we'll dive into the foreign scene now.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation, the voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
You're welcome back. Well, yesterday we informed you of the visit of China's president to Ukraine and also gave you high points of what he was going there to discuss. Well, today is Japan's president. Well, Japan's prime minister is on his way to Ukraine for what is tagged a surprise trip, while Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the middle of a state visit to Russia as well.
Well, Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed on Tuesday that Fumio Kishida is visiting Kyiv for summit talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, a move that had been anticipated to take place before Japan hosts leaders of the Group of Seven in May. Kishida's trip makes him the second Asian leader to visit Ukraine since Russia invaded, and after Indonesian President Joko Widodo went there last June.
Well, Xi and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin are expected to discuss the deepening of economic and political cooperation, as well as the war in Ukraine during the Chinese leader's 3 day visit to Moscow. Xi and Putin were holding discussions for hours on Monday during the first day of the Moscow trip.
Well, the UK held a meeting with more than 40 nations to discuss ways to provide extra support for war crimes investigations in Ukraine. And according to a British readout, it says the meeting was hosted by UK Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab and the Netherlands Minister for Justice and Security, Dylan Yesilog Zegirus.
Well, ahead of the meeting, the UK proposed funding to other mental health care for witnesses of war crimes. send UK experts to train International Criminal Court investigators and help those ICC workers gather evidence of potential crimes. While the meeting follows the ICC decisions to issue an arrest warrant for Russian President Volodymyr Putin over potential crimes in Ukraine. The question is, why Ukraine? Why can't they hear the cry, pain, agony in the southern Cameroons, Amazonia? Well, coming up next is sports. Well, in sports, former England manager Roy Hodgson has been reappointed as Crystal Palace boss until the end of the season.
And in cricket, former Australia captain Aaron Finch will lead the San Francisco Unicorns in the inaugural edition of the United States' new 2020 cricket tournament, while South Africa's Quinton de Kock will play for the Seattle Orcas. Well, we'll have Gabellison tell us more.
Latest world sports. Football. Roy Hodgson reappointed as Crystal Palace manager until end of season. The former England manager Roy Hodgson has been reappointed as Crystal Palace boss until the end of the season. Patrick Vieira, who replaced Hodgson at Selhurst Park in July 2021, was sacked by Palace on Friday after a 12-match winless run in all competitions. Hodgson, 75, managed Watford from January to May 2022, leaving after they were relegated to the Championship. It is a privilege to be asked to return to the club, which has always meant so much to me, said Hodgson. Our sole objective now is to start winning matches and to get the points necessary to ensure our Premier League status. Hodgson has said he did not expect to take another managerial job in the Premier League after his departure from Watford. Ray Lewington also returns to Palace as first-team coach with Paddy McCarthy, who took charge of Sunday's 4-1 defeat at Arsenal, named assistant manager. I would like to welcome Roy and Ray back to the club, said Palace chairman Steve Parish. We are obviously in a very challenging period, but we believe that Roy's and Ray's experience, knowledge of the club and players, alongside Paddy, can help fulfill the immediate requirement of keeping us in the league. Palace are 12th in the top flight, but only 3 points above the relegation zone following their defeat at Emirates Stadium. Hodgson's first game in charge during his second spell will be at home at Leicester on 1st April. His managerial career has spanned more than 45 years and includes stints at Inter Milan, Blackburn, Fulham, Liverpool, West Brom and Palace. While he has also led the national sides of Switzerland, United Arab Emirates and Finland. Hodgson has managed 6 clubs in the Premier League, taking charge of 382 games, and already holds the record for being the competition's oldest manager. He led England from 2012 to 2016, but they failed to qualify from their group at the 2014 World Cup, and Hodgson resigned after a shock 2-1 defeat by Iceland in the last 16 of Euro 2016. In May 2022, he was honored with a CBE for his services to football. Cricket. Finch, the cock, unveiled on Major League Cricket Draft Day. Former Australia captain Aaron Finch will lead the San Francisco Unicorns in the inaugural edition of the United States' new 2020 cricket tournament, while South Africa's Quinton de Kock will play for the Seattle Orcas. Finch and de Kock were among 6 overseas signings announced during Major League Cricket's MLC domestic player draft on Sunday, in which each of the 6 teams picked 9 US-based players. MLC will be played from July 13th to 30th. It will become the latest T20 league to surface across the globe, just months after South Africa and the United Arab Emirates introduced their versions to the cricketing world, and almost 15 years after the Indian Premier League IPL changed cricket forever. It's going to be a hell of a ride, but the key is to get year 1 underway, show the world we can put out a product, get decent crowds in, and I think the momentum will quickly build. MLC Tournament Director Justin Gale told Al Jazeera before the draft, "So excited to be a part of at ML Cricket at SFO Unicorns," tweeted Finch, who captained Australia in white ball cricket before announcing his retirement from internationals last month. The 36-year-old will be joined by his former teammate Marcus Stoinis at the Unicorns, as well as Victoria fast bowler Brody Couch, whose mother is American, making him eligible for the draft. Fast bowler Liam Plunkett, who was part of the England side that won the 50-over World Cup in 2019, was also picked by the Unicorns in the draft. Plunkett's wife is American. The Cock, who previously captained South Africa across all three formats, will line up for the Hawkers alongside Australian all-rounder Mitchell Marsh. DC Freedom also announced two overseas signings, bringing in Sri Lankan spin bowling all-rounder Wanindu Hasaranga and South African fast bowler Enrich Nokia. More overseas signings will be announced over the next few weeks. Unmukt Chand, India's under-19 World Cup winning captain in 2012, joined Los Angeles while former Pakistan international Hamed Hazam was snapped up by MI New York. While the money's there, it's a pretty nice idea to come tour America, play cricket, bring your family and your golf clubs too. We haven't really struggled at all while talking to players, Gill added. According to the MLC, the inaugural season will take place at the Grand Prairie Stadium in Grand Prairie, Texas. The regular season will consist of 5 games, with each team playing each other once, followed by a playoff round and the championship on July 30th, an MLC statement said. Teams will announce more big-name international signings as they become official, and each squad has a chance to pick another domestic player in early July based on performances in the minor league cricket season. Tennis. Rafael Nadal drops out of top 10 for first time since 2005. The former world number 1 and 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal has dropped out of the world's top 10 men's tennis rankings for the first time in almost 18 years. Nadal has been in the top 10 ever since April 2005, but on Monday he fell to 13th in the rankings after injury forced him to miss Indian Wells. Unable to defend the 600 points from Indian Wells resulted in Nadal dropping 4 places to 13th in the rankings, ending his record 912-week stay inside the top 10, which began when current number 1 Carlos Alcaraz was not even 2 years old. The 36-year-old's run came to an end on the same day that teenage compatriot Alcaraz reclaimed his number 1 spot from Novak Djokovic after beating Daniil Medvedev in Sunday's Indian Wells final. Nadal is yet to recover from the hip injury that has hampered him since his Australian Open exit to Mackenzie McDonald in January. Though the 22-time Grand Slam winner could return to the top 10 once he is back in action, it will not be in the next month as he has also withdrawn from the Miami Masters. The latest ATP rankings saw Djokovic drop to 2nd place, while Medvedev moved from 6th to 5th. Felix Auger-Aliassime leaped from 10th to 6th. Hubert Hurkacz notched into the top 10 as he moved up 2 places to 9th, while Taylor Fritz dropped from 5th to 10th. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at our major highlights.
In tonight's Undaunted, we told you La République du Cameroon's council trash van overturned by neglected road, and the chairman of PCC in Changmanyu County buried alive. Also, Bamenda denizens pay a high price for persistent low voltage.
Also today, we told you that Prime Minister of Japan is on a surprise visit to Ukraine. And in sports, we said that Roy Hodgson reappointed as Crystal Palace manager until end of season. And that was it for tonight on Undaunted, bringing to the news Untold Stories. On behalf of Michael and Costa Smart here and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night and God bless you.